Fright night, I woke up at 2:41 a.m. to the sound of someone whispering my name in the dark. At first, I thought it was a dream, but then I heard it again, right beside my bed. I live in a quiet town in upstate New York, a place so ordinary it barely shows up on maps. There's one gas station, a diner, and endless miles of woods and farmland. It's the kind of town where everyone knows everyone else, and nothing out of the ordinary ever really happens. That's exactly why I moved there. I had been living in the city before constant noise, people crammed together, sirens at all hours of the night. I thought the silence of the countryside would be an escape, a cure for the stress that had been eating me alive. The house I rented was small but charming, tucked away at the end of a gravel driveway about half a mile from the nearest road. My nearest neighbor was an older couple who lived nearly a mile away through the woods. To me, it felt like a dream-complete privacy, peace, and quiet. At least, that's what I thought. It was late October, one of those crisp autumn nights when the air feels sharp in your lungs and the trees look skeletal against the twilight sky. I had just finished handing out candy to the handful of trick-or-treaters who actually bothered to come down my driveway. By 9 o'clock, I turned off the porch light and settled inside with a blanket and a couple of old horror movies. I felt like the perfect Halloween night chilly air outside, warmth inside, the comforting familiarity of a scary movie playing in the background. By midnight, the last movie ended and I switched everything off. I stood in the living room for a moment, just listening. Normally, I would have heard the hum of the fridge, the creak of wood in the walls, the occasional distant bark of a dog, but that night, the silence felt almost unnatural. It was heavy, absolute. I brushed it off, locked the doors, and went to bed. It didn't take long to drift off. The last thing I remember was the wind rattling faintly against the window. But sometime in the early morning hours, I woke up with the most unsettling feeling that someone was standing in my room. My eyes opened, but the room was pitch dark. I stayed frozen, straining my ears, when I heard it. A whisper. So faint it was almost inaudible. My name. I shot upright, heart hammering. For a few seconds I didn't move, didn't breathe. I thought maybe I'd dreamed it until I felt something warm and damp brush against my cheek. Breath. I scrambled for the lamp, knocking over a glass of water in my panic. When the light flicked on, the room was empty. The door was shut, the window locked. I stayed awake until dawn, too afraid to close my eyes again. By morning, I convinced myself it had just been a dream. Stress, exhaustion, the influence of the horror movies, it all seemed like a reasonable explanation in daylight. But the second night proved me wrong. I went to bed at earliest time, hoping to make up for the lost sleep. Around 3 a.m., I woke again, not to a whisper this time, but to a faint knocking sound. 3 slow, deliberate knocks. I went to bed earlier this time, hoping to make up for the lost sleep. Around 3 a.m., I woke again, not to a whisper this time, but to a faint knocking sound. 3 slow, deliberate knocks. From inside the wall beside my bed. At first, I thought maybe it was pipes. Old houses make strange noises. But the knocks came again. Knock, knock, knock. Perfectly spaced, perfectly timed, just like knuckles rapping on wood. My entire body went cold. I didn't move, didn't breathe. I just stared at the wall in the dim lamplight, waiting. After a minute, the sound stopped. I didn't sleep again that night. By the third night, I was a nervous wreck. I kept telling myself it was all in my head, that it had to be. But deep down, I knew better. I tried to distract myself by reading in bed. The lamp cast a warm glow, making the shadows seem a little less oppressive. For a while, nothing happened, and I started to relax. But around 1:30, that same heavy silence fell over the house. No wind, no creaks, not even the faint hum of the refrigerator. It was like the whole world had gone still, and then I heard it again. A whisper. Not my name this time, but something worse. Laughter, soft, low, almost childlike. It came from the darkness just beyond the edge of my lamp's glow, curling around me like smoke. I froze, the book slipping from my hands. My mouth went dry. The laugh came again, closer this time. I turned my head toward the mirror across the room, and I swear I saw something move in it. Not a figure, not a face, but a shadow bending in a way shadows shouldn't. My chest seized with terror. I lunged forward and shut off the lamp. I don't know why I did it. Instinct, maybe some primal urge telling me that hiding in the dark was safer. But as soon as the room went black, I realized how wrong I was. The whisper came again, right beside me, and this time I felt a cold finger graze the back of my hand. I snapped. I bolted out of bed, flicked the light back on, and sprinted out of the room, down the hallway, and out the front door. I stood barefoot in the gravel driveway, gasping in the freezing night air, staring at the house like it had become something alive, watching me. I didn't go back inside until morning. And when I did, I noticed something that made my blood run cold. On the dresser, in the thin layer of dust that had gathered, there was a word traced out by a finger. Stay. That was the moment I knew. This wasn't in my head. Over the next week, the activity escalated. Every night around 2 or 3 a.m., something happened. Sometimes it was whispers, sometimes knocking, sometimes the feeling of the mattress dipping, as if someone invisible had sat down beside me. I barely slept. My nerves were fried. I started leaving every light on in the house, but the shadows seemed thicker, heavier, like they were pressing in on the glow. I thought about breaking my lease, about just leaving everything behind. But before I did, I made the mistake of trying to confront it. It was a Thursday night. The whispers had started again, curling out of the dark. Who are you? I demanded, my voice shaking. The room fell silent. For a moment, I thought maybe it was gone. But then from the corner came the faintest reply. Not who. My blood turned to ice. I swallowed hard. What do you want? This time the answer came instantly, clear as day. You. The lamp flickered once, then went out. I screamed and lunged for my phone, fumbling to unlock it. But before I could, I felt hands cold, clammy hands grab my ankles and yank me down. My back slammed against the floor. The wind knocked out of me. In the dark, I heard it crawling. Something dragging itself across the floor, coming closer. I scrambled to my feet, ran for the door, and didn't stop until I was outside, heart pounding, throat raw from screaming. I didn't go back that night, or the next. I stayed at a friend's place for a few days, trying to convince myself I'd had some kind of breakdown. But when I finally returned to the house to grab my belongings, I found something waiting. The walls of my bedroom were covered in words, traced in that same finger-written style I'd seen on the dresser. Stay. Don't leave. Tonight. And on the bed, pressed into the blanket as if someone had been lying there, was the clear outline of a body. I walked out, got in my car, and never went back. It's been months now. I live in a small apartment in town. I should feel safe here. But sometimes, around 2 or 3 a.m., I wake up to the faintest sound. A whisper. So close it feels like it's brushing against my ear. And sometimes I still feel that cold finger graze the back of my hand.